Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Let's start today's presentation with today's quote. Don't focus on how much you eat. Focus on what you eat. I am Dr. Muhammad Daud, doing my fellowship under supervision of Professor Dr. Saira Afzal. And today I will be talking about nutritional problems that are malnutrition. Learning outline of today's presentation would be like introduction about nutritional problems, types of nutrition problems, preventive and curative measures, and I will be highlighting a few points from Pakistan Nutritional Survey conducted by UNICEF in 2018, which was published in 2019. And by the end of presentation, we'll be able to understand about what is the nutrition and its types, and what are the recommended strategies for prevention and its treatment. And we will talk about the global updates. Malnutrition. The term malnutrition means both undernutrition and overnutrition. Malnutrition refers to deficiencies, excess or imbalance in person's intake of energy or nutrients. The term malnutrition addresses three broad groups of conditions. Number one, undernutrition. Number two, micronutrient-related malnutrition. And third is the overnutrition. Undernutrition includes wasting, that is low weight for height, and stunting, which is low height for age, and underweight, which is low weight for age. Micronutrient related malnutrition includes micronutrient deficiencies, lack of important vitamins and minerals, or micronutrient excess. While overweight include obesity and diet-related non-communicable diseases such as heart disease, strokes, diabetes, and some cancers. These are the key facts about by the World Health Organization. Malnutrition in all forms, including undernutrition, inadequate mineral, vitamin, overweight, obesity, resulting in diet-related non-communicable diseases. And globally, 1.9 billion adults are overweight or obese, while 462 million are underweight. In 2020, globally, 149 million children under 5 were estimated to be stunted, while 45 million were estimated to be wasted, and 38.9 million were overweight or obese. And WHO is further saying that about 45% of deaths among the children under 5 are linked to undernutrition. The most commonly occur phenomena is in low and middle income countries. At the same time, in these countries, the rate of childhood overweight and obesities are also increasing. The developmental, economical, social, and medical impacts of global burden of malnutrition are serious and lasting for the individuals and their families, for communities, and for the countries. Let's talk about who is at most of the risk of developing malnutrition. The most common people who may suffer have a long-term health condition that affect the appetite, weight, or how well nutrients are absorbed by the gut, such as Crohn's disease, or people having swallowing problem like dysphagia, or the people who are socially isolated, living limited mobility, or having low income. The people who need extra energy, such as cystic fibrosis, people suffering from cystic fibrosis or recovering from serious injury or burns, or those with tremors, and the people who are over 65 and they are particularly at high risk of developing malnutrition, and the weight loss is not an inevitable result of old age. And including in this, of course, are included the infants, children under 5, and pregnant and lactating women. Let's talk about the disorder due to malnutrition. Broadly, these are the protein energy malnutrition, which are categorized into two: usually Kwashiorkor and marasmus, and I will be discussing uh, the third one also, which is marasmic Kwashiorkor, and undernutrition of vitamin and minerals. The diseases caused by them will be discussed briefly. And thirdly, the overnutrition, which is obesity. Let's see the differences between the Kwashiorkor and marasmus, that is a protein energy malnutrition problem. In Kwashiorkor, you can see the children are deficient of proteins, and it occurs between 6 and 3 years of age. And the particular phenomena here is subcutaneous fat is preserved while edema is present, liver is enlarged, ribs are not prominent, the child is lethargic, having muscle wasting, which is mild or absent, but there is a poor appetite and the children is suffering, needs more amount of protein. You can see here the picture of a Kwashiorkor baby, the protuberant belly, itchy rash, cirrhosis, dry skin. I mean, the poor wound healing is present in the Kwashiorkor children. While the marasmic children, you can see the typical picture here. These occur due to deficiency of protein and calories. It's commonly under 1 year of age, and the prominent phenomena here, the subcutaneous fat is not preserved, while the edema is not present, no fatty liver, but the ribs are prominent due to loss of subcutaneous fat, and the baby is alert and irritable, having severe muscle wasting, and the voracious feeder, I mean, is hungry for the food, and the person suffering marasmus need adequate amount of protein, fat, and carbohydrate. I mean, all the three macronutrients are needed for the marasmic children. If we say about the combination of these two, the marasmic Kwashiorkor, the child has a combination of both of these two problems. Feature of Kwashiorkor are, the edema of not only of feet, legs, and hand, but also the lower arms, abdomen, and face. And the skin is pale and hair and thin hair, and the child is unhappy. There are also signs of marasmus, wasting of the muscles of upper arm, shoulder, and chest. So you can see the ribs. If we talk about the undernutrition of vitamins and minerals, you can see undernutrition of minerals. The deficiency of calcium causes rickets, iodine causes goiter, iron deficiency, the most common problem, the anemia, and the zinc, which affects the growth. And while the vitamin deficiency, we have already covered about it, like vitamin thiamine deficiency causes beriberi, niacin causes pellagra, vitamin C causes scurvy, and vitamin D deficiency results in rickets. And now come to the overnutrition, which is usually in the problem in the developed countries. The basal metabolic index, the BMI, is more than 14 grade C obesity. Is called the morbid obesity, while if it is more than 50, it is called super obesity. The women have higher rate of obesity. Women BMI increases by 1 kg per pregnancy. Relationship between the alcohol consumption and adiposity is a positive for men and a negative for women. That means the more the alcoholic men they have, more adiposity, while the women have not. The cutoff of obesity is the +2 standard deviation from the median weight for the height. And in layman term, we can say that anybody who has having excess of 10% of extra weight is labeled as obese. Here are the determinants of malnutrition. We can see here the factors affecting the malnutrition, I mean, and the local, national, and international factors. If we sum up under 6 heading, that is the production. You see half of the people in the developing countries do not have adequate food supply, and the issues of food production and availability locally. And the preservation, you see 25% of grains are lost due to bad storage or bad post harvest handling, spoilage or pest infection. And 50% of our fruits and vegetables are spoiled, are easily perished due to this non-preservative preservations. And population density, distribution and urban migration also determines the malnutrition. While there is a synergism between nutrition and infection, and the poverty, that is the root cause of malnutrition, income, household food distribution. While the government policies and politics, they foster the malnutrition directly, how the food is subsidized and distributed indirectly, civil unrest and natural disasters affect the market availability and the cost of the food. Let's talk about the symptoms of the child having malnutrition. You can see the symptoms, the baby not growing or putting weight at expected rate, the changes in behavior such as being usually irritable or slow or anxious or low energy level and tiring most of the time easily than the other person. As far as the symptoms signs are concerned, there is unintentional weight loss, that is 5 to 10% of more weight loss over 3 to 6 months is one of the main signs of malnutrition. And low body weight, BMI under 18.5 are the risk of being under malnourished. A lack of interest in eating and drinking is a sign, and feeling tired all the time, feeling weak and getting ill of and taking long time to recover after illness. And in children not growing, not putting weight at expected rate are the signs of malnutrition. Most important evidence-based intervention what we can do here in the community level or population level, the maternal micronutrient supplementation with calcium and balanced protein supplements is the one of the best measure there. Exclusive breastfeeding for 6 months and complementary feed until 2 years of age. Vitamin A supplementation for postpartum women and under 5 children. Iron and folate for anemia, zinc for diarrhea and measles episode and burns in children under 12 to 60 months. Universal salt iodinization, supplementary home and community-based feeding for moderate malnutrition, recognition and management of acute malnutrition are the intervention we can take. A rough guideline how the energy requirements spread throughout the day, which we can follow these guidelines. The breakfast should form the 20%, lunch 30%, evening meal 30%, and drinks and snacks should form the 20% of the whole of the daily food schedule to meet the requirement of 2,500 kilocalories for male and 2,000 kilocalories for a female. Indications of malnutrition are single best parameter of assessment of physical growth is weight. Weight for height is considered more important than the weight alone for the measurement of physical growth, while height is a stable measurement of growth as opposed to a body weight. Weight reflects only the present health, while the height indicates events in the past also. And that's the how we categorize the underweight or overweight person by calculating the BMI. The formula for BMI is the dividing the weight by height square. The height weight is taken in kilogram, while the height is taken in meters. The value comes out with, we can see here, the normal value is 18.5 to 24.9, while below this value is the underweight, and between 25 and 29.9 is the overweight, while above 30 BMI, we label them as obese. Here are two classifications of malnutrition which are widely used for considering weight for age. There's a Gomez classification, 90 to 110% of the weight is taken as normal, while between 75 to 89 first degree or mild malnutrition, 60 to to 74 is the second degree or moderate, while below 60 is the third degree of severe malnutrition under this classification. While the Wadlow classification of malnutrition takes into consideration both height and age. You can see if the height and weight, uh, weight and age is more than two, mean of standard deviation is taken as normal, while if the height and weight is more than two standard deviation, but the height age is less than two standard deviation, it is labeled as stunted, while if the height weight is less than two standard deviation, while height and age is more than two standard deviation, it is labeled as wasted. If the both height weight and height age are less than two standard deviation, it's labeled as wasted and stunted. The preventive strategies, the best way to prevent is to eat healthy and balanced diet. We need a variety of food, plenty of fruit and vegetables, plenty of starchy foods such as bread, rice, potatoes, pasta, and some milk and dairy products should also be included in our food, including non-dairy alternatives. Some sources of protein such as meat, fish, eggs, and beans are also needed to avoid malnutrition. Prevention strategies include also the use of modern agriculture techniques to increase agriculture production, proper education of people regarding importance of food, enrichment, fortification of food, genetic engineering to develop new varieties of food, and at government level, the healthy food to infants and pregnant women provision. Staple food should also be available at cheap rate, and common people should adopt rotation in the food, and the use of probiotic microorganism in the food should be encouraged. And while the global public health and disease control measure helps to prevent the malnutrition. Uh, a few words about the treatment. If it sets in, the treatment includes the fortified food at a high in calorie should and protein should be taken. Snacks should be taken between meals. Should have a drinks that contain a lot of calories. Some people need more support with underlying issues such as limited mobility. If a child is malnourished, their family may need to be advised and supported regarding underlying to understand the underlying reason. If the initial dietary changes are not enough, doctor or dietitian may also suggest extra nutrient in the form of nutritional drinks or supplements. Here is the slide from National Nutrition Survey, which was conducted by UNICEF in 2018 and published in 2019. Here you can see the nutritional status of children under 5-year age. We can see the how it is spread between under 5 children, how many are stunted here. We can see the 40.2% are stunted, 17.7 are wasted, 28.9 are underweight, while 9.5 are overweight. Interestingly, you can see it's a double burden of malnutrition becoming increasingly apparent, with almost 1 in 3 children is underweight, along with high prevalence of overweight in the same age group. The prevalence of overweight among the children under 5 has almost doubled over 7 years, increasing from 5% to 9.5% here in 2019. It has increased from 5 to 9.5% obesity in under 5 children. If we talk about the same status among the adolescents, 10 to 19 years of age, you can see among the male, 60.4% are normal weight, while 71.4 females are normal, while underweight boys are 21.1% and underweight girls are 11.8%, and overweight boys are 10.2% in this age group, while overweight girls 10.4%. The obesity among the adolescent is 7.7% in male and less in female and girls between the age of 19 and 10 to 19%. You can see here that uh, obesity is a public health issue concerning Pakistan with 7.7% of adolescent boys and 5.5% of adolescent girls are affected here. You can see in the figure, overweight and obesity affects adolescents similarly in both rural and urban areas. Here is the slide about distribution of the nutritional status among women of reproductive age of between the age of 15 to 49 of age, the body mass and the BMI. You can see that this is the overall picture of Pakistan and the further bifurcation between the rural and urban. In overall picture, you can see the underweight percentage is 14.4, while the normal is 46.1, overweight of 24%, and while 13.8% are obese. If we compare the rural and urban population, you can see here the urban population. Here, the obesity is more prevalent, while the overweight is also more in urban areas. And while the normal weight people in urban areas are less than in the rural area, while the underweight population in the rural population in the urban is less, while it's more in the rural area of women of reproductive age. National Survey 2018, 28% were reported to be overweight or obese, and it has risen to 37.8%. It has risen 37.8%. You can see here, if if you overweight or obese, if you combine these two figures, the 37.8%. Urban and rural disparity is apparent, and women in rural areas are more malnourished, while the overweight and obesity are higher in urban women. Here is the update about this malnutrition from an article there. It's showing that they're stratified by the World Bank Income Group, a moderate positive association between year lived with disability rate from iron deficiency and case fatality rate for COVID-19 was observed for low income countries, while there was no clear indication for association with children growth failure, vitamin A deficiency, or high BMI were found. Population level malnutrition appears to be related to increased rate of fatal COVID-19 in area with elevated burden of undernutrition. That's what article saying in Frontier of Nutrition published in January 2021. There's another opinion by a personal perspective article there. The malnutrition could exacerbate the effect of COVID-19 in mothers and children. At the same time, more children are becoming malnourished due to deteriorating quality of diet, interruption in malnutrition and other essential services, and socioeconomic shocks created by pandemic in low middle income countries. Another thing is crisis within the crisis, COVID-19 and hunger in African countries. Impact of the disease is expected to be greater among those grappling with the malnutrition, whereas widespread hunger and malnutrition will likely increase because of movement restrictions. Here is the latest, update from yesterday's media showing Al-Jazeera.com. The United Nations Chief of World Health Program said that we already have conflict, climate, and COVID-19 working together. Now the food prices have joined the deadly trio. You can see here the food prices has risen and about 219% and 440% in war and conflict affected areas of Syria and Lebanon. And these are the references of my presentation. You can go here, particularly the Al Jazeera news, still there on the website there. Now it's the time for MCQs. First MCQs, the essential diagnostic criteria for Kwashiorkor is A, B, or C. You can read it, or should I read it to you for you? What is the possible answer?
D.
Hello? B, that's the correct answer. The growth retardation, edema, and psychomotor retardation is seen in Kwashiorkor children. Flaky pate appearance is also seen in
Kwashiorkor.
Kwashiorkor. That's correct. Because of edema, there is a flaky plate appearance of the skin in Kwashiorkor. The following clinical finding can be used to link to a formal diagnosis of malnutrition, except insufficient food fluid accumulation, presence of food bed sores, or decrease in grip strength.
C.
Presence of bed sores.
C.
Now let's say, just look at the option again. The decrease in the grip strength is not directly related to the malnutrition, maybe due to some other neurological problems. So the other three are correct, and this is not, decrease in grip strength is not correct. Which one of the following is not a recommended type of the data to inform whether a patient is diagnosed as malnourished? BI symptom, serum albumin, body mass index, functional capacity, dietary intake.
D.
B, that's correct. The B, the serum albumin level is not taken into consideration. Which of the following are not data that should be collected during nutrition assessment? Family nutrition history, anthropometric measure, biometric data, physical exam, food and nutrition, patient history.
C.
C.
A.
Yeah, that's correct. The family nutrition history is not taken into consideration while for the nutritional survey assessment. Severe acute malnutrition in young children is defined as, that's a severe malnutrition in young children.
A.
A. C.
That's correct. See, height for age and or weight for height less than this score less than 3 is the correct answer there. Which one of the following independent indicator of malnutrition? Underweight, stunting,
Mid-arm
wasting.
circumference.
Wasting.
That's correct. Mid-arm circumference is the
D.
independent indicator. D. Proteinuria malnutrition corresponds to a state where infant dietary intake is deficient in
B.
B.
B. That's correct. Overall calories and the protein.
Calorie.
Overall protein and calories are taken into account. UNICEF model of causes of malnutrition identifies several levels of causes, immediate, underlying, and basic. Which of the is not one of the underlying cause of UNICEF model?
A.
And that's correct. The A, insufficient rainfall or agriculture has nothing to do with the UNICEF model, while the inadequate access to food, inadequate care of mother and children, insufficient health services, and unhealthy environment is the part of this model. Deficit in weight for height in a 3-year-old child indicates either acute, chronic,
Acute malnutrition.
Acute malnutrition.
and that's the acute malnutrition. That's correct, because there is an explanation here. If we see that it is low for age, it is underweight, it may be in both in acute and chronic, while the weight for height is nutritional wasting, and it is is in acute malnutrition. If there is a low height for age, then the nutritional stunting is labeled and it is in chronic malnutrition. This is the key. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Daud. Very nice presentation, especially the part that you have covered about the evidence, demographic health surveys, and the food intake in the rural and urban population, also based on the gender distribution, males, females in age groups. That is the most important part that has been presented today. However, I have few questions. If you please go to your MCQ number 3.
Yeah, ma'am.
Right. The following clinical findings can be used to make a formal diagnosis of malnutrition, except. Now, I also have the view that presence of bed sores along with the decrease in grip strength, both are correct. So how would you say that presence of bed sores is related with the diagnosis of malnutrition? Bed sores
Yeah,
means somebody has a long time,
prolonged illness. Yes.
yes, prolonged illness, and they are
Yes.
bedridden, and there are
Yeah,
certain
but
areas, yes, that are under pressure, and they are not being mobilized regularly.
yeah,
So there is
probably
something that is not related with malnutrition.
I will include some other option here. But the decrease in the grip strength is maybe due to some other neurological problems, not
Right,
only because of.
right. However,
Yeah,
if someone has said presence of bed sores, it is again a correct option.
correct
If you
answer.
please go to the MCQ number 6, please. Right.
Yeah,
Here we can see that option C and D both are standing out rather than the rest of the options. These are
yeah,
not homogeneous options. If I just look at the options without even reading them, my first side goes to C, and the C was the correct option. If you please go to number 7, please. Right. Would you please like to explain how the mid-arm circumference is the independent indicator? What is meant by this?
uh, Madam circumference is taken just to know about the, I mean, the nutritional status there. But I mean, when we are talking about the malnutrition, considering the weight, uh, I mean, the BMI, these three factors are considered underweight, stunting, or wasting, and mid-arm circumference has nothing to do with that.
According to the understanding of age independent indicator is that it can be applied on all the age groups. That is why it is called age independent indicator. If we go to the underweight, we know that the underweight is divided into certain age groups. For example, if someone has an age less than 5 years and he or she has certain weight, we still has to see whether he is male or she is a female, and then we have to go according to the standards that have been set in for that age group in that gender. Similarly, in stunting, we have to go for height, and height for age is important. In wasting, we have to go for weight for height. For mid-arm circumference, again, it is not age independent because the mid-arm circumference, it changes with ages. If it is less than 5 years, you have the different criteria or the scale for mid-arm circumference as compared to those who are above 5 years old. Less than 5 years, above
Yes,
five
of
years,
course. Yes,
right? So it is not age independent
not
indicator then.
in, yeah. And I will include some other option
Okay.
here.
Yes. What I understand is all those that are present, for example, underweight, it is related with the age. Stunting is related with age. Whenever we do, we always take them in ratios. Like what is
Yeah.
the weight and what is the age. In stunting,